Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everyone. We are your hosts, David O.
And Eric B.
Today we are joined by... Oh my god, I totally blanked their names.
Really?
Oh my god.
We are joined by Sean and Christy.
There you go,
Addicts
Eric.
family.
The Addicts family. Well, I knew it was the Addicts family, but what am I going to say?
I don't do much prep with
Gomez
you,
and Morticia are with us today.
Right?
Okay. Thank you, Eric. How are you guys doing today?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. And just to reiterate, because we've had you on the podcast before, where are you guys from?
We're originally from Dayton, Ohio, but we currently live in Gallipolis, Ohio.
All right. And when were you first both introduced to recovery?
Honey, you want to go?
What a gentleman.
Our clean date is... he is. Our clean date is February 16th of 2013.
All right. And so that's what, like 6 years clean, coming up on 7 shortly?
Yep.
Shortly,
Yep.
yes.
All right. Well, congratulations to that. And for anybody listening out there, this is Podcast Recovery's first couples episode for recovery. So we're going to see how this goes and roll with it. But with all that out of the way, we're going to turn it over to you guys to share your joint story of recovery with us. So take it away.
Okay. You
I'll
want to
let
go?
you start, Sean.
I knew you were going to say that. All right, let's rock and roll. All right. Well, Christy and I have been together for almost 20 years now. We've been married for almost 14.
No, it's been longer than 14.
Uh-oh. He's in trouble now.
Right. She is right. Our anniversary was last month. That's my bad. Sorry.
That's one trick, Sean.
I know. Here we go. So, we met on a job, working at a pizza place in Dayton, and we had this set of friends who we all worked together, we all partied together, they all pretty much lived with me at one point. And
I went to school with some of them though too.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we came together. You know, my house was pretty much the party house. That I was the only person that had their own place at the time, and that's where everybody congregated. And you know, after me wearing her down, she finally decided to give me a shot.
Nice.
And one of the things that went along with that was during that time all of us as a group were experimenting with ecstasy at the time. So that's kind of how her and I's active addiction came together, was through ecstasy, and it went from there.
We drank every weekend too, though.
Yeah, we drank. So of course, I mean, the ecstasy was originally kind of sporadic, but then it eventually became like a weekly thing, then 2 times a week type thing, and you know.
Oof.
That's kind of where we found each other together. And then fast forward, we have a couple kids, Lexi and Aiden. And by this time, now we're eating pills. And kind of begins the downward hill of us going from pills to oxy, back to pills, to heroin, pretty much all the way around the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
So
there was very little we didn't try.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it was pretty much free. It was pretty much, what have you got? You know what I'm saying? Like, and eventually everything started to fall apart. I mean, I lose a job. I go, the job that I'd had for a long time, running a restaurant, a multi-million-dollar restaurant, and, I became pretty much unemployable for a long time, and Christy kind of stepped up to be the breadwinner, which in turn led to my deeper use of drugs because I felt like I couldn't provide for my family. And so now at this point, my wife is now stripping. The mother of my children. And you want to take it from there?
I can, yeah. I started off as a door girl at a strip club, and I wasn't really making a lot of money, and I felt like where Sean had sacrificed so much, and he worked so hard, that I needed to step up my game. I felt like when I didn't make a whole lot of money in tips and stuff like that, like I was kind of letting everybody down, which led me to start talking to the strippers about how much money they made and things like that, and what all I would have to go about doing that. Mind you, this whole time, Sean thinks that I am a cocktail waitress at the strip club. And so after stripping for probably about a year, it increased to a little bit more than that because I still felt like I was not providing enough. The thing that was probably the most disheartening was when my daughter, for her 7th birthday, I got her like a little $4 Littlest Pet Shop toy. And I felt like a piece of shit because all I was able to get her was like this $3 toy. And she came outside and sat down with me when I went outside to smoke a cigarette. And she was like, Mom, I know that we need the money, so if you want to take this back, you can. And I was like, no, baby, no, this is yours. And she's like, no, it's fine. You can take it back. I didn't need the money more. And so that was kind of like an eye-opener, but not to the point where I was like, oh, we need to stop doing drugs. It was, oh, I need to figure out how to make more money.
Yeah.
So then I found out about Backpage. And so I was posting ads on Backpage for escort services, and Sean thinks I'm going to the strip club to cocktail waitress, and I'm going and getting hotel rooms, and I'm gone for days at a time, and it was caused my drug usage to increase rapidly.
Yeah.
And I'm still also dancing at this whole time. And about 6 months into that, Sean comes across a text from a potential client, and it was like my biggest fear brought to life because I knew that he would blame himself for me needing to do these things. Because I was willing to do whatever I had to do to support our habit and to take care of our kids. And I didn't want him blaming himself because he was having a hard time finding work. And so it came out. And, I told him, I said, I didn't tell you because I knew that you would blame yourself for the fact that it's, been so hard for you to find work. And I felt like I wasn't doing a good enough job as a breadwinner. And so I was willing to do whatever I had to do to make sure that I brought that money in. So that was a whole nother situation. I'm still dancing. And, at this point, I'm probably alone doing what Sean and I would do in a day by myself just for work. On top of drinking quite a bit at work. And how I didn't manage to overdose or die is beyond me. Obviously, there was a greater purpose for me. And I know what that is now. But, I mean, it was really trying for quite a while. That's not something that is easy for Sean and I to talk about still to this day.
Yeah.
It is really hard on him. It was what at the time felt like needed to happen.
Yeah.
Sean, do you want to take back over? Kind of tell your side of the whole thing?
Yeah, like you said, this is kind of a touchy subject for us, obviously.
Yeah.
Something that will probably haunt me for the rest of my days, honestly. But, like she said, she was leaving and dancing and being gone for days at a time. But the only reason why I didn't really notice anything, or I never really caught on, was the fact that she was dancing with our dope boy's girlfriend. So when she was gone, I figured they were there. You know? And so, like, when this all came about, you know, like she said that she was gone. She had been gone for like 3 days. She'd been up for like 3 days or whatever when she finally came home. And this came out, you know, I have only gone through my wife's phone one time in 20 years. One time. And I'll never do it again. Because, you know, her phone kept going off. She's back in the bedroom. She's passed out. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning. I got Lexi off to school. And her phone keeps going off, and she will not wake up. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I go through her phone, and, you know, I could feel my soul being crushed. You know, because then I go to find out that everybody knows but me. Like, I'm the only one that doesn't know what she's doing. Like, my dope boy knew, his girlfriend knew, all their friends knew. Like, I was the only one that didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, when she talked to you guys last time, she said that she'd been gone for like 3 days. She had rented out a hotel room and, like, going crazy, doing whatever. And, like, the other side of that story is I'd been at home sick for 3 days. Like, I hadn't seen her. I hadn't had any dope. Like, she's off partying, doing her thing, living like a rock star. And I'm at home dope sick with 2 kids.
Yeah.
So that's just the complete opposite of where we were at in that time. I find out what's going on. I called Dope Boy, and he's acting like he doesn't know what's going on. But then I find out everybody knows. Everyone's known this whole time. Everyone was making this more accessible for her to get this taken care of, and hiding it from me. And, you know, I'll be honest, I never thought about leaving her.
Yeah.
You know, my thought was to call the dope boy and see if I can get a front, because because I feel like shit now.
Yeah. Wow.
So we go from there. At that point, we still have our house, but we rapidly lose our house. She goes to jail for a while. You know, now we're hopping in hotel rooms. We even stayed, believe this or not, you guys are never going to believe this, but we actually stayed at the house of one of her dudes. The whole family, we all stayed there for like how long? 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Wow.
He knew we were married.
Yeah.
He thought we weren't together. But like, it was a really messed up situation. But he didn't want to see me and the kids go out on the street, and Sean just happened to be part of the package type situation. And he would drive me to where we could get on the bus to get Lexi on the bus to school. And he even, like, helped us move down here. After we were down here, like, get some of our stuff from our house and bring it down here. Because apparently we were just that good at lying that I had this person convinced that me and my husband, who were not together, but we were together, like, he believed every bit of it.
Wow.
And in active addiction, you were able to manipulate people to a point where they're going to believe what you say because you've not given them a reason to think otherwise. I mean, we're in his bathroom taking turns, like, hitting, and he's none the wiser.
Wow.
And it was a really, really bad situation up until we got to the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Sean is telling me that, hey, something really bad's going to happen. I feel like something really bad is going to happen.
Mm.
And, you know, it wasn't until I got robbed that night and left in the 5 miles away from work in the middle of nowhere that, you know.
Yeah, I remember you telling
I even realized that there was anything wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure. Go ahead, Sean.
I mean, she could have ended up in a ditch that night dead. You know, the fact that those guys didn't kill her, they just threw her out of the car and stole all of her shit. I mean, yeah, it's best case scenario, but how many times are you going to roll that? You know what I'm saying? Not very often.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that's what he was concerned about. You know, you could have been dead in a ditch. And all I kept saying was, I'm so sorry that I'm not going to be able to get dope for us.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm so sorry I lost our money.
Yeah, I know how that is.
And now we're not going to be able to get any dope. You know, and he's like, you could have been dead. That doesn't faze me. And I'm like, no, but, you know, and that's where he had been ready to quit for so long, and I was still holding on to that. I don't have a problem.
That actually, like, brings me, like, to my first question. I'm just going to interject a little bit. Did he decide, like, to get clean first, like, before you? And, like, how did you guys handle that together?
I'll let you answer this one, Sean.
we have both tried to enter into recovery multiple times. Like, this isn't our first, you know, rodeo.
Yeah.
In terms of recovery, but I was so sick of the life.
Mm-hmm.
I was sick, like, the fact that I was allowing. I hate to say allowing because it's not like I own Christy, but like letting my wife leave the hotel room to go do these things with these guys so I can have dope, like, eventually gets to the point where I just can't take it. Like, I have so much self-hatred in me, and I can't believe the person I'm looking at in the mirror that I started to feel like something bad was going to happen. I thought that one of us was going to die, or we were both going to die. The kids were going to find us in the bathroom, laying on top of each other, you know. And I told her, I was like, I feel like something really bad's coming. And like she said, she wasn't ready to let go. She was living like a rock star. Were you not? Yeah. I mean, pretty much, kind of.
Yeah,
sorta.
but I mean, I still absolutely hated myself through all of it. But I was so scared to get clean that I wasn't ready to let go.
And you know, we were actually staying with a drug dealer that last week in Dayton, and you know, she gets robbed that night. She gets robbed on Valentine's night. So the next morning, she's like, all right, let's do this, you know. And so she calls her dad, who had a spot for us down here. And 48 hours later, the four of us are in a car. We each have a backpack and a pillow. And we're starting completely over from scratch.
But see, like Sean said, we had tried getting clean before, but part of the reason why I think Sean continued using until I was ready to get clean was because the 2 other times that we had tried, we did it on our own. I detoxed in county jail, so he detoxed outside of jail, you know, and it wasn't together. So, you know, we knew that if we didn't do it together, it wasn't going to last. You know, and we wanted this time to be our last time that we ever picked up again, you know? And so that's why we came down 2.5 hours from Dayton and, you know, detoxed together and quit cold turkey together, you know, because it kind of gives you that accountability partner, you know, because I would never want to relapse because I know if I relapse, I'm going to bring him down with me and vice versa.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
You know, and we can't have both of us relapsing because, the kids were well old enough that it would be a lot harder on them and us, you know, that we would potentially lose our children altogether.
Yeah.
And, you know, so we kind of have that, like, accountability buddy.
Love it.
To help keep us on the right path and to keep us walking in our recovery, you know, because we care so much about the other person and about our family and about ourselves that we don't want to relapse because we know that's going to bring the other one down with us.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Sorry, I interrupted a little bit. I don't know where you were. I don't know where we left off.
I mean, you're pretty much at the end.
We've kind of gone, now we've moved 2.5 hours away from our home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're down here. We are in some shitty condo off of 35, like miles away from civilization on every side.
Mm-hmm.
And we basically lock ourselves in a bedroom for 7 days and detox.
Mm-hmm.
With our children in the room with us, which is just fantastic. I'm sure everybody
And my
loves
dad.
that.
My dad and his girlfriend across the hall from us doing drugs.
Who are using dope that we weren't aware of it to begin with.
Oh, wow.
So we were in a situation straight off the bat at the beginning of our recovery where we had the chips stacked against us, you know? I mean, because her father's girlfriend, she was shooting dope, but they were snorting dope together.
Yeah.
So she was shooting behind his back. So, like, she would come to me and ask me to, like, mix up her shit. And then I would walk around this apartment with a loaded ring in my pocket until she could jump in the bathroom and shoot it off.
Oof.
Like, while I'm like 7, 8, 9 days clean, like, want to kill myself walking around with a loaded rig.
Yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't good to begin with, you know. I mean, the fact that we made it through, I think, is the reason why we've never looked back. Since we made it through that beginning stage.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why we were able to continue on our recovery together. And like she said, we've been clean separately.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as we got back together, we're shoving needles in each other's arms.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
The very first night we're back together. You know, we've both been clean this whole time. She's in jail. I'm doing my thing. And the first night together, we're shoving needles in each other's arm. I mean, the connection between us is so strong that she's right. If one of us was to relapse, we're both done. You know what I'm saying? Like, if she was to come home tomorrow and say she relapsed, there's no way I'd let her go down that road by herself. Like, I would jump square off the boat with both feet until I could pull her back. Is that the right thing? No, but you know, that's how we live our recovery. We live our recovery at face value, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. Like, I'd never let my wife sink back down into that hole without me.
Yeah.
whether that's right or not, but that's the way it is. And see, because of everything that we struggled with when we first got clean, like that should be, you know, inspirational to anybody who's even wanting to get clean.
Absolutely.
Because if you truly want it, it doesn't matter what is thrown your way. The devil had a hold of us and was trying to pull us back down, but we had made up our minds that we were done. We didn't want to live that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are so sick and tired of being sick and tired, you'll do whatever you have to do to stay clean.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, at one point, my grandparents are talking to us, and I'm like, you know what? I feel like all you do is poke and poke and poke and wait for us to relapse so you could be like, I knew that was going to happen. Take our kids. I said, if that's the case, I'll just go back up to Dayton right now and overdose, or eventually overdose, like I would have if I would have continued using, because that seems like that's all you guys want. And Sean, the look on his face when I said that to my grandma was like just complete shock. My grandpa starts crying. Like, I mean, that's how serious it was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like nobody wanted to see us get clean except for us.
Yeah.
Because they wanted that to hold over our heads because we held, we hid it from them for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, even to this day, now pushing 6.5 years, there's still people that in our families that think that we're just putting on a show. Like,
my father's one.
There's no way that we're actually clean. That we do all this for show. We get on here and do our live feeds. We talk to you guys, and it's all a big lie. You're like, nobody wants us to be clean except for us.
Well, and I think the people that still hold on to the idea that want to hold on to the idea that we're still using are the ones that themselves can't change. The ones closest to us, like my sister and my mom and my grandparents and Sean's mom, and not even Sean's mom all the time. But the ones that are the closest to us, who see us get up every day and go to work and see us provide for our kids and never see us have a day where they should be suspicious because there's nothing to be suspicious of. Know that we're clean and we really are living our recovery the way that we say.
Yeah.
I had to cut my dad out of my life, and I had to cut my sister out of my life because they were toxic. They were still using. My dad always wanted to say, oh, you guys aren't really doing that. And, I was like, just because you say you're going to get clean and you can't does not mean that I am not clean.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have crawled from the depths of hell to get back on my feet for my husband and myself and my kids, and nothing is dragging me back down there ever again. And so I am real quick to cut a toxic person out of my life and not think twice about it.
Yeah.
My recovery comes first, bottom line. And if that means that I will never speak to my dad again, then that's what that means.
I mean, that's pretty much, I couldn't say any better, I mean, we've all had, both of us have cut major players in our families out of our lives. I mean, I haven't spoken to my father for 7.5 years. Like my children do not exist to my father. Like we don't exist. I mean, he took a picture down of my kids in his house. Like we are not part of their family. And is it tough? Yeah. Does it suck? Yeah. But I have my family. I have my wife. I have my children. The four of us, we can take on anything because we fought everything. We fought homelessness. We fought drugs. We fought everything. And as long as the four of us are together, we can take on the world, man. I'm not scared of anything if the four of us are together.
That's awesome.
So,
all right.
we've kind of gone to this point where Christy has chosen abstinence. Christy got sent away. She got sent to Star, which is a rehab facility.
It's not a rehab facility. It's a low-level prison. It's a community-based correction facility.
Okay.
Yeah, that thing. So, and then after that, she was in transitional living,
which is treatment.
Yeah,
which is treatment. And was separated from us for a while. And during that time, she found her way in the rooms, and she found her way through abstinence. And the two of us together shouldn't work because I'm on an MAT. I use Suboxone. And she practices complete abstinence. So the fact that we live together and our recoveries work together, like if you look at it on the internet, you talk to everybody, like we shouldn't work. Like there's no way that our lives should be able to intertwine the way they do. But recovery is recovery. We all recover different. We all, the road to recovery has many different lanes to it. It's not just a straight shot.
Right.
So,
Recovery is not a cookie cutter program because we're not cookie cutter people.
Yes.
You know, Sean and I keep our recovery separate, even though we're in recovery together, because, you know, he does what works best for him. I do what works best for me. And together we're in recovery. You know, you know, from what you guys could tell, my addiction wasn't the exact same as Sean's. Were we in addiction together? Yes. But it wasn't the same. So why should our recoveries be the same?
right.
You know, recovery is not a cookie cutter program because we are not cookie cutter people. Not everybody's the same.
Yep.
Any room you go into, any testimony you hear, you can relate to majority of the things they say, but your story is not going to be the exact same as theirs.
Yeah.
And that's what makes recovery so great. You know, because even though we don't all do the exact same thing in our active addiction, we can all relate to one person or another because of the fact that it's similar. You know, I don't expect you guys to have the same recovery as I do, and I don't expect Sean to have the same recovery as me because none of us had active addictions that were the same.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, the four of us against the world. That's all. I mean, I'll say that till the day I die. But the fact that we recover together, I don't see what the issue is. I don't see why people have. I mean, we've done our live feeds and talked about it. We've discussed our separate recoveries, and some people get butthurt about it, man. Like, I don't see what the big deal is. I don't understand why we just all can't recover what works for us, you know?
Addiction is taking way... Active addiction is taking way too many lives from us. And as a recovery community, instead of nitpicking about how you choose to recover, we should set those differences aside and focus mostly on the people that are still in active addiction before we lose anybody else. I feel like in the recovery community, we have enough knowledge together as a whole that we are, you know, if we came together and stopped fighting with each other in the recovery community and focus on actually, you know, like you guys are doing, helping the people that need it, we wouldn't be losing as many people to active addiction as we are now. You know, all the government's talking about how they want to take care of the addiction crisis and the drug crisis, and none of those people are going to be able to do it because they don't live through it.
Yeah.
They don't know what it's like. They don't know what to expect. You know, you can read as much as you want in a book, and you're still not going to know firsthand like we do. You know, the only way that this drug epidemic is ever going to change is if the recovery community comes together, steps up, and puts a united front towards drug addiction and alcoholism. And we personally, you know, reach out and help those who are still in active addiction.
Yeah.
It's the only way it's ever going to get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Testify, sister.
All right.
You know how I get with this stuff.
All right.
Cool.
Well, I think we got some questions for you, and Eric said he wants to take the lead tonight, so I will defer to him.
I do want to take the lead. Some of these questions might be a little hard, but we'll see how it goes. So
We're up for the challenge.
all right. So about 5 minutes ago in your share, you guys were talking a lot about your family and, you know, just kind of the disconnect with people in your life that, you know, aren't present anymore. Now, I mean, I understand how that goes, right? Like, you know, people, you know, it's not always going to work out where once you get clean, everything's perfect. Like, that's not the expectation of getting clean. Things get better, they don't get perfect. But the real question is, you know, you've made these decisions to cut people out of your lives, but how are you guys working through the resentments on those people and kind of going through, you know, processing those situations and, you know, kind of working towards, you know, an amends or forgiveness, you know, in one way or another?
Oh, Sean, can I go?
You go for it.
Okay, I actually did a resentment tracker where I wrote down what all my resentments were, and I prayed about each one, and I worked through them. I had to feel a lot of emotions that I've been holding on to for a long time. there was a lot of resentment towards my dad. And I cried for probably 3 days straight, like a sobbing baby, just completely uncontrollable. And the reason I know that I let go of those resentments is because I stopped hating my dad, and I genuinely do love him, and I genuinely do wish the best for him, which was a very foreign feeling to me because I had hated my dad for so long. And until he reaches a point in his life where he is no longer using drugs, then he won't be involved in my life. I can love him from a distance, and I wish him all the best in the world. But as long as he's using, I can't have him in my life. Now, if he were to ever actually stop using, then I would take baby steps to try to build that trust, and I would definitely put up personal boundaries, you know, in order for him to be in my life again. But he does not think he has a problem, so I don't foresee that happening anytime in the near future. But I did have to do a lot of alone time in my room, writing down what exactly it was that I had resentments about towards my father, why I resented him for those reasons, and, you know, had to work through them. And it was hard. And I also had to take and look at where I couldn't look at it as I was the victim, because everybody has horrible childhoods, you know, and I couldn't look at it as, oh, well, because I had such a horrible father. I had to take and look at what I was responsible for in that relationship. And I also had to stop holding on to that childlike expectation that I have always had towards my father, because he'll never be the dad that I ever wanted him to be or that I ever deserved. So I had to go into it looking at him as an adult. Because as long as you're still looking at him like that father-child figure and have that father-child relationship, you know, you're never going to really be able to let go of any kind of resentment you might have towards them. Once I started looking at him adult to adult and coming to the realization that he's never going to be the father that I wanted him to ever be, you know, that also helped let go of a lot of the resentments that I had towards him. You know, I take him at face value. That's who he is. That's how he's going to be. And, you know, I'm okay with that. Because, you know, he's hurting himself enough in his own life with the decisions that he's making and the fact that he's still using than I will ever be able to hurt him. And by holding on to any of the resentments that I had towards him, it wasn't affecting him. He could really care less. You know, it was only hurting me by holding on to those things. So until I was able to let go of them, I wasn't really able to fully heal from that. And that's where it helped me. Sean, you want to go?
I'll tell you right now, on this topic, my wife is a whole hell of a lot more healthy than I am because I'm a resentful motherfucker.
That's why I said I'll go first.
You know, and I mean, okay, I know when we talked before, I think I spoke on the fact that, you know, I have reached out to my father in the past 7.5 years, however long it's been, and to no avail. Like I said, we don't exist to him. So as far as I go, I mean, I don't know. Am I resentful of the fact that I'll never see my father again and have them in my life? I am, but at the same time, I feel bad for them because our children are amazing. Like, our children are going to do amazing things. Like, my daughter is one of the smartest girls you'll ever meet, and they're going to do things. They're going to be real people who are really involved in society and takes things to the next level for their generations. I know it is. They're so special like that. And they're going to have to watch that from a side and not be able to be a part of their life. So I'm a little bit more childish when it comes to this whole thing as a for my wife. But, I mean, as far as face value goes, I don't think I'll ever be in the same room as my father again, ever again. So I don't think... I push that stuff away. I mean, I do. I have a therapist. I talk every week. I bitch and moan all the time about my dad and all this crap. But it's never going to change.
Yeah.
Because not only did I cut him out of my life, but they cut us completely out. So I don't ever see there ever being any kind of amends there. So my wife's a lot more healthy when it comes to this kind of thing than I am, because I'm, like I said, I'm a lot more childish. You know, I get upset around holiday time. You know, I get upset around times when our family would have came together, and I still hold on to those things because that's how I was raised, together as a family, as a big family, and so holidays are rough for me. You know, other days, like the Indianapolis 500, that used to be a big thing for our family because my stepmother now used to live in Indianapolis. So we used to always come together, had a big party, all of us, my brothers, my sisters, Christy, the kids, and they still do that stuff without us.
Yeah.
So I hold on to a lot. I still hold on to a lot of that. But I don't think that that's ever going to change, so I try not to dwell on it as much as possible.
All right. Cool. All right. And while we're on that topic, I have a question relating to that. How has the process of forgiveness been for you two, individually and together? Like being able to like forgive yourselves for like things that happened in the past, and be and the process of like forgiving each other, and just sort of letting the past be the past, and like how have you moved forward?
Do you want me to start this one, Sean?
It's up to you, my love. You can go if you want. All right, go. Don't matter.
Looking at what everything happened during active addiction, honestly, I feel like I was the one that fucked up a lot more than Sean did, so I don't really have anything that I would need to forgive him for.
Okay.
I mean, we both did what we did.
Yeah.
You know, and, trying to stay in that past is not healthy for either one of us. You know, I don't really feel like I needed to do anything to forgive myself because everything that I did led to the person who I am today. And I'm more grateful of the person that I turned out to be after active addiction. So I had to learn how to take responsibility for the actions that I took. You know, I did. I've tried to make amends and reach out to people and apologize to them for, you know, things that I did during active addiction. But I almost feel like if I were to go back and change anything, I wouldn't, because I wouldn't be who I am, and I wouldn't have learned the things that I learned during active addiction, and I definitely would not have found my purpose. So, as far as like forgiveness for Sean, he didn't do anything nearly as bad as I did during our active addiction. And I wouldn't change anything I did because I would have missed my lesson that I ended up learning from my active addiction. So I don't really like dwell on what I did. I did what I did.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it, you know?
Yeah.
Now, Sean, on the other hand, probably has to forgive me for quite a bit of shit, because I was off the wall. I mean, even in recovery, I'm pretty off the wall. Like, I'm a lot to handle, but I'm not sure. I know during active addiction, I was probably a lot worse. And the fact that he, you know, is able to still love me the ways that he does, and he doesn't act like he has any kind of resentment towards me because of actions that I took during our active addiction.
Yeah.
You know, speaks volumes to me. So, I mean, that's kind of where I stand on that whole situation. Sean?
My resentments don't fall with Christy. I don't have anything to forgive her for. You know, what happened, happened. My resentment lies with myself. I'll never forgive myself for allowing the things that happened. And that's something that will haunt me for the rest of my life. She's right, though. If we were to go back and change it, things would be different, and we wouldn't have learned what we've learned, and we wouldn't be in the place we're at. But as far as when I look at her, I see my wife. I see the same person I've seen for the past 20 years. I see the love of my life. Like, that's in the past.
Yeah.
As far as how I feel towards her. But my resentment lies with myself. Like, that's something that I actively work on. I work on it weekly with my counselor, you know, because I'll probably never be able to forgive myself for allowing to happen what happened.
Okay, but with that being said, hold on. With that being said, and you know, I hate that line. You know me well enough that you know there is nothing you could have done that would have stopped me from doing any of that either. So I don't know why you don't just forgive yourself. You couldn't have stopped me. You know, you weren't making me go out and do it.
And she's right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But that also shows you what the differences in how we see things and how our recovery is. I mean, like I said, I hold on to a lot more things than she does. She has the ability to brush a lot of things off and to find amends with things to where I don't know what it is, but I like to hang on to things like a little bitch. So
hey, you said it, not me.
I know. Somebody had to say it. But I mean, it is what it's like.
Yeah, it is what it is.
I don't dwell on. I don't dwell on those things. Like I don't see those things when I see my wife. I don't see that person that I saw.
Yeah.
When I was in active addiction. So I mean.
Oh, that was a perfect answer. That was two perfect answers. Oh. All right, I think Eric's got some more for you. What do you got, Eric?
All right. So this is one I kind of just thought of. Kind of, you know, sticking with the relationship theme. You know, what boundaries did you guys have to put up once you got clean? Because I mean, I see that, you know, probably the boundaries you had when you were in active addiction were probably a bit distorted and a bit different than what they were when you guys got clean and sober. So what boundaries did you guys have to put in place?
Well, I don't know if we really...
I don't think we really have any kind of boundaries. We just pretty much... Like,
I mean, we had to re-find each other in recovery. You know, I mean, that first week of detox, after that first 7 days where you can finally get back on your feet and kind of walk around a little bit and not puke every 5 minutes. I mean, we had to reconnect as a couple. I mean, we had the dumbest conversation before the first time we had sex. When we were clean, like
we were both terrified.
We were both terrified. We're sitting there like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Because I don't know. Like we're like
not the same.
Yeah, like we were a bunch of like little teenagers. Like for the first time having sex again. Like it was. but we had to refund each other, and I think the bond that we have and the love that we have for each other, I mean, she's right. We didn't really have to set a whole lot of boundaries because I think we both were aware of what was at stake and what still is at stake every day. So, you know, I guess it's kind of not an answer, but it is an answer. So, what do you think, honey?
I mean, that's what I was sitting here like, what do you mean boundaries? I mean, we
that was a really vague.
With other people around us.
Yeah, that was a really vague question. When he asked it, I was like,
boundaries?
Yeah.
Well, like healthy boundaries.
But
I mean,
like,
you know, like that's.
Yeah, but that's so general. Like that could be for anything.
It's kind of like an unspoken thing, you know.
I mean, so.
But we were also in a different situation where it's not like we were still in our hometown getting clean. Like, we were in the middle of nowhere. Like, we had no way to get anywhere, nowhere to meet anybody. Like, as far as saying, hey, we need to stay away from here or do this or that or not hang out with these people, like, we eliminated all that when we got in the car and drove 2.5 hours away.
Well, yes, but you guys were still together, right? And you guys had spent your entire addiction together. So,
Correct.
I mean, looking at this from like a codependency perspective, you know, there's boundaries that have to be put into place when, you know, there's a major change taking place in your life. And, you know, I mean, you guys went from shooting dope to, you know, being clean. And, you know, there were no boundaries set as far as, you know, like, we're not, you know, I don't feel comfortable doing this anymore. I don't feel, you know, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe we should do that. Like, I mean, you guys kind of brought it up with the sex, but, like, you know what I mean? Like,
okay, pretty much the only boundary that we ever set up after we got clean was, we're not doing this shit again.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, like I said, we both know what's at stake, and we both know that we could pull each other down in a heartbeat. So we have to, you know, I think we just have to walk the path of recovery and know that together we can handle this, and we don't ever have to go back to living like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's kind of a weird answer.
No, it's okay. David?
It was a weird question. I'm blaming Eric for that one.
Well, but you kind of have to understand with Sean and I, like, because there goes that vape again, Sean. It's making like a high-pitched hissing sound.
Yeah.
We have like a connection that a lot of couples don't have, that we had even before we were in active addiction, you know, and we had during active addiction, and now that we're in recovery, you know, where a lot of the stuff we don't have to communicate because we know the other person so well that, you know, it's pretty much like an unspoken thing. I know what he expects, and he knows what I expect without either one of us even having to say it, you know?
Okay.
And once we had made up our minds that we were going to get clean, pretty much all we said was, you know what, we're done. Let's not do this shit again, you know?
All right.
Because if you go down, I'm going down, so let's just not do it.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So I have like...
I mean, I feel like it's the most important boundary you could have.
Yeah, it really is. I have like 1.5 questions left. I'm gonna try and I'm gonna ask you one.
I'm intrigued by the half mark.
Yeah, the half question's good. It's gonna be a good one. Okay, so you guys talked about how everybody has their own path of recovery. There's no such thing as like a cookie cutter recovery program because all our stories are different. We're all different as people. So how do you both keep your recovery separate, and also how do you collaborate when necessary in your recoveries?
Sean, do you want to start?
Let's see. I think as far as keeping our recovery separate, I mean, we kind of went through a little bit of that when she came back from transitional, because when she came back from transitional and she is now practicing abstinence, you know, she kind of projected that onto me, like I should try and do that. And I, you know, that's not my road right now. That's not the road that I go down, and that's not what I choose to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we had to kind of figure that out before she kind of let it go. She started to let it go, and we both realized that in order for this to work together, we were going to have to work separately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But as far as collaborating, I've always got her back, and she's always got my back. And when it comes to like what we try to do as the Addicts family and try to give, you know, inspiration and hope, and like we both have such a drive to want to help other people that I think that's just automatic. I think we just automatically click when it comes to that, because I think we have the same passion, the same want to help people that are still stuck in active addiction.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for our recoveries to work together, we have to run separate operating systems, I guess.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, honey?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty much like somebody that uses, you know, a MacBook and somebody that uses a Dell laptop. You know, you're running two separate programs, but you're sitting side by side on the couch doing the same work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And at the end of the day,
to explain it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, all that matters is that we're in recovery together, and our families together, and you know,
we're not using.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not using. You know, I don't want to say I hide the fact that I use Suboxone from her, but the fact that like I don't make it part of her day. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Me taking my medicine has nothing to do with her daily going about.
Yes.
So like he doesn't do it in front of me. He doesn't keep his bottle out in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's just out of respect for the fact that I don't use an MAT.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
All right, perfect. And to my half question, this is for both of you to sort of talk to anybody out there listening about the challenges of being in a relationship in recovery, and how it can be difficult to get into a relationship early in recovery, and maybe some of the benefits as well, if you feel like it.
Okay. I definitely don't think that it's a good idea. Like, if you're not in a relationship, like, we were in a relationship prior during our active addiction, and a lot of relationships don't work out once they get clean because they've never done anything outside of using drugs together, so they don't know how to work as a couple together.
Yeah.
Where we were fortunate enough to have that time period where we were together before active addiction. For people who are just fresh in to their recovery, you know, it's not really a good idea to jump into any kind of relationship, because anything can, you know, be a trigger, and you don't know how you're going to react just starting out in your recovery if there's a fight or a breakup, or, you know, and you don't want to risk relapsing because you weren't emotionally or mentally prepared yet to be in a relationship. You know, that's why they say in the rooms, you know, you want to wait at least a year into recovery before you start any kind of relationship. Because you're still trying to heal yourself mentally, physically, emotionally in that first year, you know, and so you really need to take the time to focus on you and your recovery before you start trying to add in any outside influences. Now, the benefit of like a couple that are in a similar situation to what Sean and I were, where we used together and then we got clean together, you have that accountability buddy. You know, you have you're not doing it alone. You're not getting clean alone. You're not, you know, in your recovery alone, which also means if you relapse, you're not alone. And so it just depends on, you know, how long you've been in a relationship before you got clean, if you were, you know, starting a relationship fresh into your recovery. Like, there are some benefits and there are some, there's a lot of pros and cons to both. It just really depends on the situation.
Yeah.
I met a lot of people when I was at STAR and in treatment who are couples like Sean and I who were in active addiction together and got clean together and are still in a very healthy, happy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met some that once they got out of their active addiction and started recovery, instead of going back to kind of like that dating time that you would to reestablish who you are as a couple, they found out that the only thing they really had in common was drugs.
Yeah.
And so those relationships ended. So, I mean, it really could just depend on a lot of different things. There are definitely pros and cons to both.
Agreed.
Sean?
I couldn't say it better myself. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly with what you said. I mean, it's, my path of recovery, I didn't make it into the rooms, and I didn't see, or I didn't hear those things and the things that she talks about. But, we had that connection before active addiction.
Yeah.
To where before we were in active addiction, I knew that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with this woman. So, yeah, did we have to re-find each other? Yeah, after we got clean. But I was never going to give up on that. I was never going to let that go. Like, I'm never going to leave her. And, if you have two different two people that don't have a whole lot in common, that maybe they have two different recovery programs like we do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that could put a strain on your relationship. If one person's using MIT and the other one's trying to be abstinent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't really ever thought about that like that. I mean, I agree with what Christy said. I really like what she said, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think I've ever really thought about that too much because I've kind of always seen us together. I don't think that we,
Yeah.
So that's what's kept me in check.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that she's my wife, the mother of my children, and that I'm, I want to spend the rest of my life with her. So.
Perfect. All right. Over to you, Eric.
All right, so it's time for the Twitter question.
Time for the Twitter question.
And
Drum roll.
I'm so excited.
You peaked a little bit there. The Twitter question.
It was a failed drum roll. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
We try things out,
So
it's an experimental night,
The Twitter question is from at dbox9161989 or
that's
Dave,
a lot of numbers.
Or Dave B.
Dave B.
Yes, who we had on the podcast a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
So the question is, knowing we can't control others, what do you do when a person close to you is constantly restless, irritable, and discontent?
Oh, shit.
And this is a group.
This is a group. This is for everybody.
Yes.
Oh, that's a rough one.
Y'all are gonna love my answer.
Christy, go first. Christy's first.
Yeah, fire away, honey.
You know what? It is what it is. You can't really change
that.
I did. You can't change it. All you can do is you're only in control of your own feelings and your own emotions. If you need to limit yourself or, kind of distance yourself from that situation, then that's what you have to do. But it is what it is. You can't change the way they're acting or the way they're feeling, and you have to do what's best for you so that you don't get sucked into that as well.
Mm. All right.
I mean, I agree. I mean,
I told you you're gonna love it.
I really think that you can't let yourself be brought down by that. So you have to make that separation. I mean, if you got to sleep on the couch, or you got to go take a walk, or you got to go back into work, you have to make that separation, because until the other person is able to work through what they're going through, and by all means, if you need me, I'm here to talk to you, but if not, I'm gonna let you do your thing because I got my thing going on too.
Yeah.
So I can't believe she said it is what it is. That's crazy.
I mean, what is it?
It is what it is.
Well,
Exactly.
yeah.
I mean, you can't change it.
Yeah.
It is
Right.
what it is. So you can only focus on how you're going to react to it.
Yep. My answer. It's
Don't steal mine. Mine was good.
yeah. No. I'm not stealing yours at all. It's difficult. I have a lot of really close relationships in recovery. A lot of great friends. Made some new family in recovery, and I've seen a couple of them throughout recovery go through times where they have tragedy strike, and they're like going through a really a tough time. They're grieving. And like they're dealing with deaths and stuff like that. And me personally, when I see somebody I love going through something like that in recovery, like I'm right in that foxhole with them. When they're hurting, I'm hurting. And like I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's the right way to approach it, but that's just like the way my heart, my spirit reacts. Like when one of my friends is hurting, I'm hurting too. And I guess I sort of like try and take some of that pain and take some of that burden onto myself to hopefully like alleviate that pressure on them. And I just try to show up as much as possible. I don't try and like chew their ear off or anything like that, or like be the naggy sort of friend, like texting them, "Are you okay? How do you feel today?" Like, I don't do that. Like, but I'll stay in more of a consistent basis of normalcy and just try and not treat them like nothing's happening, but treat them normal, because nobody wants to be like pandered to. Nobody wants to be babied or coddled or anything. Well, some people do, I guess, but most people don't.
Do.
Yeah, some people do. But most people like they just want to be treated like they're normal.
Right.
And when they're ready, like they'll talk about things, and things will just come up organically. And when they come out organically, it's more cathartic and therapeutic for them. And in those opportunities, I just try to be there. So that's how I sort of deal with it in recovery.
You're a lot nicer than I am, because even when Sean's acting moody, I send him to his room.
Real shit.
Sean, it is what it is. Go to your room.
Right. I mean,
F off, buddy.
It's not that I'm cold or I'm heartless or anything like that, but I mean, I can't let it affect me.
No, I got you.
You know?
No,
I feel
that's
for
not
you.
wrong.
I do.
There's no wrong answers here. We're in the tree of trust in the nest of recovery. What have you got, Eric?
I send Sean to his room.
Eric's sitting over here with his judging eyes. What have you got,
Many
Eric?
times.
How do you answer this question?
So I'm gonna totally go with a recovery answer. So let's take some spiritual principles and some steps. In essence, this is step 3.
God.
This is step 3. We can't control others. So, as you know,
Correct.
So
I wasn't peeking.
Also,
I was looking at that.
Also, though, it's also about acceptance and remove yourself from the situation. If
Christy, you're not cold, but Eric is.
What? Removing yourself from the situation?
He is just cold. He's cold and aloof. He's like
if someone's being irritable, restless, and discontent, you can either remove yourself from the situation, or you can choose to talk to them, or you can talk to them about it. You can ask them.
Yeah, there's
wrong.
There's a lot of circumstances here. Like if someone's just being a whiny bitch, and they're just being a whiny bitch, by all means, just walk away and let them be a whiny bitch. But when people are actually going through things, you got to treat it differently.
But okay, that's the situation you put on your situation. I'm just saying in general. We're talking in general terms.
We are.
We're not talking about like people fucking dying. Like that's maybe your situation.
Well, that's what I sort of came
up
with in my mind.
Yeah, but I'm answering the actual question. I'm not answering a perceived question.
Fuck you.
that
buddy.
you are now putting on to the question was, may I state it again, what do you do when a person close to you is constantly restless, irritable, and discontent? You either ask them what is wrong or you remove yourself from the situation. It's an easy 1 or 2. You can use step 3 or you can just accept the situation as it is.
In which case, Chrissy says it is.
Don't put context into it.
I did put context into it. I made it more specific. It doesn't change it. Just makes it more specific.
But
here.
I mean, but he has a really valid point, because I mean, if you are trying to be there for that person,
don't
they
take
say
his side on this.
It's person, places, and you know, if you're hang out in the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. Haven't you ever heard that statement before?
Yeah.
Hang around with this person who's constantly discontent and upset. It's going to pull you down.
Yeah.
Hear that? She's throwing recovery at you, David.
So, I mean, that's why I'm like, it is what it is. I don't have to be a part of it. You know, do your thing. Come to me when you're ready, but go to your room.
Okay.
All right.
I think that's a mom's answer. I think that's what that is.
I think we're about.
I send everybody to the room, so.
I think we're about out of time.
I think. Are we? Is
we're about out of time, guys.
All right.
All right. So
let's give you a golf clap.
Yep.
That one first. That first one was a little bit loud.
A little loud. It's okay.
That was me. I'm fired up now. We need to do the Twitter questions at the beginning, just so I can get this fire out of my belly.
Get fired up.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, we'd like to thank you guys again for coming on. I thought this was a great first couples episode, and I think you guys are going to be you guys set the bar for any future couple episodes that we get on here.
And where can we find you guys
for them?
For like the Addicts family and everything? Where can people find your handles and your accounts?
addictsfamily.com. We do own that domain name. We have also a page on Facebook, an Instagram page, and Twitter. I'm trying more active on Twitter, but I still haven't got the handle of that. I'm an old man, so I'm still working on the Twitter thing. But, I mean, definitely hit us up on Facebook, Instagram. We're always putting things on there.
And we're always available for anybody to ever talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, we always answer anybody that ever reaches out to us.
Awesome.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Well.
Right on.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys coming on here at Podcast Recovery.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. It was a pleasure. Here at Podcast Recovery, we are aiming to expand the scope of support for recovering addicts. Accessibility and convenience of helpful services is paramount to combating addiction. We work to bring the message of recovery to every addict, wherever and whenever it is needed. We believe that a powerful voice of recovery should be obtainable, practical, and at the touch of a button. Every addict deserves to hear a message of hope, and Podcast Recovery and the Addicts family are here to provide it. All right, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you for joining us tonight. Most importantly, everybody out there, stay safe, stay clean.